The Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi had ascended through the ranks of the Jedi Order, in part due to his judicious following of the Jedi Code and becoming the model Jedi. But upon gaining the powerful Padawan of Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi turned a blind eye to the obvious attachment between Anakin and his secret wife, Senator Padme Amidala of Naboo. The loyalty he had demonstrated to his unique master Qui-Gon was reflected in his approach to the teachings of Anakin, and it would cost them the war, as the disguised Dark Lord of the Sith Chancellor Palpatine preyed upon Anakin's attachment and his distrust in the Jedi Council to turn him to the dark side of the Force. After the execution of Order 66, in which Obi-Wan had survived the betrayal of his clone troopers on the planet of Utapau, the Jedi Master was dispatched to hunt his fallen apprentice by Yoda, and he instinctively headed off to Padme's apartment, but he had arrived too late, as even with her help, Anakin had become possessed with his new powers, and inadvertently killed Padme. But what if Obi-Wan had found out about Anakin's marriage at an inopportune moment? Would this assist or hinder the Council? As you're going to discover, the future of the Jedi and the Republic could have taken a different path. The broken half of the invisible hand skidded onto the floor of Coruscant's airstrip, and all of the survivors aboard looked shaken that they had managed to return to the Galactic City. A shuttle bus whisked them to the floor of the Senate building, and Obi-Wan declared that he had to report to the Jedi Council, so he left Anakin to bask in the glory of the politicians. But the Jedi Master's curiosity got the better of him, as he observed Master Windu guiding the senators inside, and to his horror, he saw that Anakin had not gone inside, but stayed behind a pillar with Senator Amidala. Obi-Wan perfectly timed his interruption to the shock of them both, declaring Anakin had breached the Jedi Code. The Jedi Knight bowed his head in shame, but protected Padme from any harm that could reach her, as Obi-Wan walked back to the temple. The Jedi Master planned to go straight for the Council chamber, but he quickly realised that it would result in Anakin's immediate expulsion. Obi-Wan thus turns to the quarters of Grandmaster Yoda, and the old Jedi had been expecting him. Obi-Wan does not waste any time in revealing Anakin's attachment to Senator Amidala, and Yoda turns to the window in thought. Yoda always knew that Anakin had much fear in him, and this was inevitable for the Jedi Knight. Yoda decided to summon Anakin to his quarters, and the Jedi Knight was expecting to be expelled, but to his surprise, he would be trained to channel his compassion and inner dark side. As he stood in front of the other council members, Anakin turned to Yoda, who pointed to Windu as the one to continue the training of Anakin. The Karoo Master looked at Yoda with disgust, ordering for Anakin to be exiled for his breach of the Jedi Code, and the Council hold a vote to decide his fate. If Anakin did not have enough doubts to be dealing with, the Jedi Knight later awoke to nightmares of Padme dying in childbirth, and he was very keen to find out what the Council had voted. In a majority decision, the Council had exiled Anakin from the Order, and he stomped off to the Chancellor's office, seeking the advice of his friend Palpatine. The Chancellor continued to play his game, and remarked that the Council's decision was a blessing for Anakin to unleash his true power, and it left Anakin to think of other methods to save Padme. The former Jedi returned to Padme's apartment, and he promised the Senator that he would be her bodyguard, and to protect their future children and her life. With what the Council felt to be a necessary departure of Anakin, their original plan to have a spy on the Chancellor been scuppered, and they choose an alternate route by leaving him alone until the fall of Grievous. Obi-Wan and Plo Koon are disgusted by the expulsion of Anakin, and are unwilling to let the matter be swept away, visiting Anakin alongside Padme. The Jedi regards his departure to be a blessing, as it meant the strain of the secrecy had been released, and he could finally start the family he craved, despite his nightmares. The Jedi are worried that Anakin's services would make him vulnerable to the dark side, and little did they know that he was beginning his fall. Anakin is invited to the galaxy's opera house in the entertainment district for a discussion along with Palpatine, and Anakin confirms that the Chancellor had been right about the Jedi restricting his potential. Palpatine grinned evilly and began to manipulate Anakin with the teachings of the dark side, promising him that he would be able to save Padme from dying with the legend of Plagueis. Anakin's temptation to fulfill his Force potential was overwhelmed by his desire to save Padme, and Palpatine realised that Anakin's attachment could also be a detriment to his aims of making him his apprentice. The Senator would have to be eliminated. Palpatine and Anakin left the Mon Calamari ballet performance and parted to their separate ways. Anakin headed back to Padme's apartment to resume his role as her bodyguard, whilst Palpatine returned to his office and brought up the hologram of General Grievous, who he had moved to the planet of Utapau. The Sith Lord decided to lay a trap for the Jedi and what he hoped to be Master Kenobi, as he ordered the cyborg to secretly return to Coruscant and meet him in the Works District for further instructions, as he also shifted the remainder of the Separatist Alliance to the lava-covered planet of Mustafar. The Chancellor next transmitted a message to the Council, reporting that Grievous had been found on Utapau, and the Council have to choose who to dispatch. The Council want to send Master Kenobi, as he had had many previous encounters with Grievous before, but he is reluctant to let Anakin out of his sight, so Master Windu nominates himself to go to Utapau. Back in the cover of Dooku's old hangar, Lord Sidious looked up to his Jedi killer in Grievous, and devilishly ordered for the death of Senator Amidala, giving the schematics for the 500 Republica and the Senate office building. Grievous was wary that his height would be an obstacle in the busy building, but Palpatine had the issue covered as he executed Order 66. On Utapau, Master Windu had just arrived on the planet alongside his clone troopers, finding it to be devoid of the Kaleesh warrior, and he sprinted to the holotable to relay news that this was a lost chase. But as the figures of the council members appeared, he heard the sound of multiple blasters around him before they fired. Using the remains of numerous battle droids, he quickly lifts them to shield him from the blaster fire, then pushes them all out of the room in a giant wave. Windu then summons a Varactyl to cause a distraction, as he used his mastery of the Force to vaporize any clones or droids crossing his path, and finding the safety of his starfighter. Entering the hyperspace docking ring, Windu tried to reach Obi-Wan at the temple, but he was met by the battling Master T instead. The Togruta Master lost Master Kenobi in the chaos of the clones, and none of the Jedi could find him as they defended the temple. The Jedi Master had in fact felt the danger of his Padawan from across the galactic city, and against the orders of the rest of the council, he leapt into his speeder and weaved through the Coruscant traffic on the way to the Senate building. The Jedi skidded to a halt, finding his speeder on fire from the blasters of the clone troopers under the influence of Order 66, but he focused upon the cries of the senators in the building. Clinically killing the Coruscant guards, he found the running Senator Organa, grateful for his help, as they both heard the clattering frame of Grievous marching in their direction. Obi-Wan ignited his blade and assumed his patented Sorisu stance, but Grievous punched a hole in the ceiling and jumped out into his ship. Obi-Wan negotiated more clone troopers to pursue his old enemy, and realised that the cyborg was targeting Senator Amidala. As he's being shot at, Obi-Wan manages to scramble to his comlink and warn Anakin of the impending danger, but the Jedi Knight was in the midst of the battling clone troopers. Obi-Wan just arrived after Grievous, and before he could strike the distracted Anakin, he intercepted the blades of the droid general, then ordered Anakin to escort Senator Amidala to safety. The Jedi Masters joined in his battle by Plo Koon, who had refused to go to Cato Nemoidia, leaving Master Tin to be shot to his death, as the Keldor Master also sought to protect Anakin. Together, they fend off the clones by using Grievous as a shield, before disarming all of the limbs of the famed Jedi killer. Pointing their blades at him, they asked for the name of his real master Darth Sidious, and Grievous remarked that the Jedi had been foolish in failing to detect Chancellor Palpatine. As the Jedi contemplated this development, Grievous threw a detonator into the room and tried to crawl away, but was stopped by the cables of the clones, firing their blasters into his ruined body, before looking for the Jedi Masters, but they were nowhere to be found. Obi-Wan and Plo Koon had aimed to return to the Jedi Temple, but the smouldering ruins and escaping Jedi made them abandon that thought, and they instead sped their way to the safety of Bail Organa's cruiser, where they revealed that Palpatine was the one there to destroy, before he could destroy the Jedi. Anakin looked at the ground in anger, feeling the dark side surge inside of him, at the revelation that Palpatine had been manipulating him. Although he was eager to battle Sidious, he looked at Padme resting in the medical bay, and the nightmares of her dying in childbirth still loomed in his mind. The Jedi Knight chose to ensure Padme would be safe, and thus the recently arriving Master Windu appoints himself to be in charge of the mission to find Palpatine. Yoda chose to perform battle meditation in his quarters to reduce the effectiveness of the clone troopers, leaving Obi-Wan and Plo Koon to swoop through the blockade that had been set up. The ARC-170 starfighters pursue the Jedi Council members to the ground, but they neatly roll out to the foot of the Jedi Temple, encountering Kit Fisto and Shaak Ti, rescuing any of the younglings and Padawans they possibly could, before they heard the loud bellow of Palpatine across the galactic city. The Sith Lord invited for all of the Jedi to go to the Senate building, and to complete what the clone troopers could not, then showed that the dark side reign above the light. The Jedi are determined to stop the rise of the Galactic Empire, and they all take speeders to the Senate building, pursued by the clone troopers arriving from the other worlds. Waiting for the Jedi are an entire legion of droids, all still active and relentless, but Master Windu began to demonstrate his powers in the Force by pushing them out of the way in waves and breaking them apart with his hands. The Master of the Order continued his destruction inside the rapidly collapsing building, crushing the necks of the clone troopers who had been unfortunate to cross his path, then leading the Jedi into one of the senatorial entrances to the main chamber. Palpatine casually swiveled his Senate pod to face the Jedi, dismissing Mas Amedda and his guards with a nonchalant movement of his hand, which he then pointed at the Jedi. The dark side began to swirl around the Sith Lord, and the Senate pods began to be charged with power, before being launched in the Jedi's direction. Grandmaster Yoda had arrived from his battle meditation to extend his own hand and push the pods back to safety, earning a glare from Palpatine, who projected a surprise force-lightning attack at them all, sending them to the floor. As they recovered from their wounds, menacing footsteps passed in between them, and a lightsaber ignited. Anakin Skywalker pointed his blade at his former friend, accusing him of lies, as Padme was completely safe, and for the first time, Palpatine showed a flitting of fear. Anakin leapt across the entire room, smashing at Palpatine's defences, which had been raised in time. The Sith Lord encouraged Anakin to use his hate and anger, but the former Jedi Knight ignored the taunts to push Palpatine to the foot of the building, where he fell to his death in a cloud of Sith energy. Anakin breathed heavily and returned to the injured Jedi, who eventually get to their feet and return to Senators Organa and Amidala. Together, they manage to discover the location of the Separatist Alliance, and quickly deal with the threat on Mustafar by bringing them to justice on Coruscant. The death of Palpatine also ensured that the clone troopers were no longer under Order 66, and they were reunited with their old generals, then used to dispel any pockets of droids left in the galaxy. The Senate building is rebuilt from his attacks, and the senators return to vote for a new Supreme Chancellor, eventually electing Bail Organa, as Padme sought to balance her political role with her new parental duties. Anakin is reinstated in the Jedi Order and made a Master, much to the annoyance of Master Windu, as Yoda decided that they needed a change in the Jedi Code to prevent the Sith from rising again. In their first council meeting since the defeat of Palpatine, Anakin took his seat in the Jedi Council, cradling Luke and Leia, as Obi-Wan began to speak of the position of Mandalore, and how Maul was once again on the loose after Order 66. The Jedi Master turned to his occupied Padawan, asking for his view on how they should draw out the Zabrak into the open, but the Jedi was distracted before he designed a typically ambitious plan in the newly constructed holotable. Obi-Wan shook his head as Anakin had gotten away with his misdemeanors once again, and he would have to be dealing with 3 Skywalkers very soon. That is it for What If Obi-Wan Found Anakin's Marriage in Revenge of the Sith. If you enjoyed this What If, please like this video, turn on the notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.